We love supporting and promoting the creators of musical theater throughout the world, and we would love to have your support as well. Go to musicaltheaterradio.com and click on the Become a Patron button because a supportive community is a strong community. Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov. If you look at the resume of our next guest, you'll be like, you did that? You did that. You've done that. No, it's an incredible resume to look at. She's an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, a coach, and a creator of musicals. So I'd like to introduce you and welcome to the show, Jennifer Turliuk. Jennifer, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
No problem. It's great to have you on. Like I said, your resume is very cool. You've done lots of big things, but the variety is what's great, and I can't wait to talk to you about it.
Oh, thanks so much.
So I'll let the audience know today's episode might but won't be limited to the words maybe TEDx, Tide Pods, Red Bull DJ, and NASA and musical theater. So just giving a warning to the audience right now. So Jennifer, I always start every interview with this one question. Who are you in 30 seconds? Your 30-second bio.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Jennifer. You can call me Jen, and I am an entrepreneur. I love musicals. I like doing book writing and lyricism. I have a dog, and I love getting out into nature and doing other creative projects like writing and dancing.
Nice. And that was at 24 and a half seconds. You save 6 seconds. You can use that at the end if you want to add on to your
store it up.
Exactly. I think the question everybody is asking and thinking right now, what kind of dog?
She's a beagle mix, and she's lying here next to me. So if you hear any dog sounds, that's her.
Nice. All right. So before we get into everything else, I want to take it back to the beginning. Were you always into musical theater as a kid, or growing up with it, or is that something that you grew into later in life?
I was always into musical theater. Yeah, my parents put me in musical theater camp from the age of 5. Age 5 was actually when I feel like I had my biggest acting moment where I got to play Belle in the first scene of Beauty and the Beast at a theater camp in Burlington.
Nice.
And then I continued to be in musical theater camps for many years. So until I was, 16 or so. And then I think I took a bit of a break, but I continued watching musicals. I was in a number of musicals at my high school. And then during university, I continued watching them and loving them. And then I guess a couple of years after university, I had this resurgence of, I continued to still watch them, but then I realized I really like writing, and I wanted to try writing one. So that's kind of when I got back into it and got into musical theater writing, and have also vastly increased the number of shows that I see. I have a spreadsheet where I track them all, and it's good times.
Nice. Now, did I read you went to Queen's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they have the Queen's Players. Is that who you saw there? Putting on a lot of musicals?
Yeah, I saw the Queen's Players, and I've also seen them in Toronto. It was a great group of students and then alumni performing comedy.
Yeah, I know a few people who went to Queen's and were a part of that, and they're fantastic performers and great people. So the quality of theater you saw there was high end. So you had good exposure. You kept going from Toronto to there. So what did you go to university for? Was it for theater?
No, I studied a Bachelor of Commerce with a minor in psychology.
Well, half of that's kind of artistic, the psychology part, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I still continued writing and, being into theater on the side for sure.
Cool. So you went for the Bachelor of Commerce. And what did you do after you graduated? Was it straight into doing some theater stuff, or did you diverge and do something else and then come back to? the theater?
I diverged a bit. So after graduation, I went to work for a large corporation. Before university, I thought, oh, I want to do something humanitarian. And I thought that I was choosing between like Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Commerce. And I thought, well, commerce, I could, try and apply to many different areas. And then when I was there, I sort of got wrapped up in, like, a lot of students were doing this whole on-campus recruiting thing. So employers would come and
Mhm.
was trying to figure out, what's the best thing I should do after graduation. So I chose to take a corporate job in marketing, which was a great learning experience, but ultimately not something I wanted to do long term. So I ended up leaving to become an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur since then, and also doing musical theater on the side.
Very cool. And both of them are, I think, require the same skill set, being an entrepreneur and being an artist. When you were out there in the business world, not the art side of the world, did you find that business people have a different way of thinking compared to the artist side, or are they comparable?
I think it's a different way of thinking. That being said, a lot of people in the arts have learned the skills of business,
Mhm.
and a lot of people in business have learned more creative arts skills. So I would say that coming out of those respective educations, um, without doing any sort of cross learning, they'd be quite different. But I have met a number of individuals that have either done programs or self-study to learn about either business or arts if they came from the opposite background. And I've been able to help some friends that are in the arts with some perspective on business and how to kind of treat their theater endeavors like a business in some way. And they've been able to help me with learning more about the creative side and how to get a theater production from concept to stage.
That's very cool. That's an important thing. Like I said, a number of artists, and it is starting to diverge and together, the business and the art. But a lot of artists don't quite understand um, how the business side works. And I'm glad that someone like you is around to guide them. Do you teach classes or anything like that, or have courses or something like that?
I haven't done it in a formal course format thus far in terms of helping people in the arts understand business, but I have been invited to sort of consult for some boards of theaters.
Mhm.
And also I've done like one-on-one coaching with people that I know in the arts.
Okay. Now, after this, you might have more people contacting you, asking you to
Maybe.
give them a hand on that.
Yeah.
All right. So you did a bunch of stuff in the business world. When did you get back to the theater and writing your musical?
So I got back into theater in, I guess, maybe 2013. I was doing like a silent retreat sort of thing, like one that I created for myself. Kind of, I was staying at my friend's place. I was overseas and he was away, and I decided, oh, I want to do like 5 days of just being by myself and not talking to anyone. I would go out, but I wouldn't really talk to anyone. And then while I was doing that, I found myself drawn to going to the local library and then starting to write poems. And then I realized, wow, these poems, they could be songs, and also all the topics are sort of linked to each other. Could this be a musical?
Mhm.
And then I started thinking, wow, I think, this could. I started to write out like what a potential plot line could be for the musical. And then when I got back to Toronto, I realized, I don't really know if I know how to write a musical. I think I tried writing a draft, but I thought, well, maybe I should learn more about this. So I looked online for different training opportunities, and I found the Inspirato playwriting academy. Inspirato, for those who don't know, is Canada's largest 10-minute play festival.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a 10-minute playwriting academy associated with the festival. So I applied to that and got in, and then was in that program. And that's when I wrote my first theater piece, which was a 10-minute show that ended up being in the Inspirato Festival. And it was a really great experience that helped me learn how to do playwriting, and also how to work with directors and actors. And it was kind of like having, like, I had the script written, and then most of the rest of it was taken care of. Like, the Inspirato Festival selected a director, and they selected the actors, and then I got to sit in on some of the rehearsals and see it go from page to stage.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I felt more confident about the idea of doing a musical. So I started working on that more. And then I applied to the 2015 Fringe Festival and got in by lottery. And then I thought, oh, now I really need to make this happen. So I started working with composers, and then found a director and actors, and then made it through to the 2015 Fringe Festival, which was where I had my first musical debut.
Very cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So let's take it back just before the Fringe. So you were thinking about writing a musical. You write the book and lyrics, yes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you have to find yourself a composer. How did you go about doing that?
Well, I was actually living in California before I had applied to the Fringe. I was just there sort of temporarily, and I was seeing someone there, and he knew how to write music. So he initially wrote some of the songs, and I also had met, I don't know how I found them. Either I'd met the person or I posted about it that I was looking for a composer. So I met someone else who also helped compose some of the songs. And then when I got back to Toronto, I guess I'd had about 5 songs composed at that point through the composers, or the beginnings of the composings created. So then I created a Facebook post saying that I was looking for a composer in Toronto, and a number of people reached out, including the person who I worked with, who I ended up working with on this, which was Lee Cohen, who was a musical director at Second City.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was the composer and musical director on our show.
Okay. So did you find it easy to collaborate with these composers, or was it weird to start working with them? Because I know when I write stuff, I find it weird to work with people. Sometimes it's because, different personalities. Did you find it easy? I guess easier with some than others. You don't have to say who was easier to work with, but.
Yeah, I think I did find it pretty easy. I mean, it was a while back, so I'm trying to remember. I'm guessing the first few collaborations might have been a little awkward. Like, okay, how do we go from lyrics to music? Because we were doing lyrics first.
Mm-hmm.
It was later that I started working with other composers through the Canadian Musical Theatre Writers Collective program, where it was music first. And I found that a lot more challenging at first.
Yeah.
But I've come to really enjoy that method too.
Cool. Very nice. So you've got your musical now, and it's called Quarter Life Crisis, the musical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about what it's about, the plot, etc.
Quarter Life Crisis, the musical, is a musical about graduating in the era of unemployment, insecurity, and Facebook. So it was basically a composite experience of friends that I had and others that I'd heard about where a lot of people were being told during university, okay, go out and change the world. You're the best and the brightest. And then seeing all their classmates take jobs that didn't necessarily align with their values or make an impact with the world. And then it had songs including, I moved back into my parents' house. I'm in love with the internet, the corporate world. So it was kind of a rock comedy about, being a millennial and going through different experiences and trying to find peace and find something that you like to do and find independence.
Right. And this was your first musical you wrote, correct?
Yes.
All right. And how was that coming into it as somebody who's new and fresh? And the great part about being new and fresh is you don't know what mistakes are, and you're ambitious, and you just go for it. How was that experience, getting that on its feet for the Fringe?
It was really cool. I really loved the group of actors that we put together. I had gone to the Fringe the year before and been sort of starstruck by some of the productions there. And I was amazed that some of the people that I saw on stage applied for my show, and I recognized them and in some cases ended up bringing them on to the team as actors. And so it was just a really great experience where we were working really hard and had lots of workshops and rehearsals. And it was my first time working with a stage manager, for example. And I tried to do it really on the cheap. Yeah. So we ended up I was moving my business at the time. So I had a retail space and then I was moving to a new retail space. Oh, no. So it was actually kind of good timing because instead of renting a rehearsal space, what we did was, once I'd signed the lease, we had the new space available. So that there was like some overlap in the spaces. So we rehearsed in the new space. And then once the business had been moved to the new space, we rehearsed in the old space. The funny thing about it was the old space was street level. And some of the scenes, involved some amorous contact, shall we say. And so passerbys were looking in like, what is going on in here? So then we ended up pitching a number of umbrellas up to sort of block out the windows. So yeah, it was a really cool experience. And then we did a lot of marketing for the show. The show ended up being featured by Toronto Star and CTV. And we had many people come to the show, I think over 700. And we were told by the Fringe organizers that it was one of the most commercially successful shows that year at the Fringe. So that was really cool. And people said, a lot of people said they liked the show. Some people said they hated the show. And we got some mixed reviews for sure. But I did have some people tell us, that the show had changed them for the better. And so I guess that's all you can hope for. And also the actors were really happy with the amount of compensation we were able to give them from the high ticket sales and also the low expenses. So yeah, it was really thrilling to go there and watch the performances and hear people laugh at stuff that I didn't even think, I didn't even know people would laugh at. So yeah.
And that's great that you acknowledge, the highs of everybody, people loved it, people hated it, people in the middle. And I love the way that you embraced it, because a lot of people go, they will just focus on, the negative reviews and, and the mediocre. But you got to think, Tony Award winning shows, West End Award winning shows, they deal with the same thing. Not everybody loves every show, and you just got to focus on what worked and what you loved about it. So I'm glad it went really well for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think there was definitely a time right after where, the production was finished. all the adrenaline had sort of worn off,
Mhm.
and I was left with, a video recording of the performance, and then these reviews, which were mostly targeted at my writing. Like they totally praised the actors, but they, like I said, there was mixed levels of reviews. So
Mhm.
I actually didn't write for a while. I sort of thought, well, I don't know if I can succeed at this, or if I'm the best at it. I sort of had this self-doubt, but then I realized, hey, I shouldn't be so hard on myself. This was my first big production, and I went whole hog. I chose to do a 90-minute musical,
Yep.
and I covered some tough subjects as part of the musical, and I sort of just went for it. And I think there's lots of opportunities for learning and growing and being better. So I tried to look at it with a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset, knowing that I could change and improve. And to that point, I hadn't taken any formal musical theater writing training. So that's when I decided to apply for the Canadian Musical Theatre Writers Collective program taught by Leslie Arden, and I got into that, and then got to learn a lot of great structure on how to write musical theater songs, and have been collaborating with the composer who I met through that kind of since then. So that's been a really great experience, and I thought, like I said, took some time to sort of hide under my shell and recover a bit, but then bounce back and learn and keep on trying and presenting stuff.
Well, I applaud you on that, giving yourself the decompression time and the time to reflect on it. Because a lot of people, I think, and this is my own personal opinion, we live in a knee-jerk reaction society where soon as something happens, they react to it. And maybe that's good once in a while, but you got to give yourself some time to reflect on it. You got to be able to look at it and analyze it analytically and intelligent rather than emotional. I think that's what you did. You gave yourself that time to reflect and realize it is something that I need to work on, but I'm new at this, and let's move forward knowing all of this stuff. So congratulations on recognizing that. And I think that's an important thing that people need to realize.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I think it was a good experience to do that. And I think part of what helped was I ran into the musical theater, or sorry, the instructor for the Inspirato Playwriting Academy, and he was asking, like, that was a couple of years after the Fringe, I think, and he was asking, like, oh, what have you been up to with respect to theater writing? And I told him about the reviews, and I said, maybe I'm just not good at this. And he said, oh, Jen, he said, like, how much cumulative time have you spent towards this? You can, the Malcolm Gladwell spend 10,000 hours thing to get good at something. He said, have you spent 10,000 hours at it? And I said, well, no, I don't think I have. And he said, well, you can get better at anything. Like, if you want to, it's not whether you're bad at this or good at this. You can get better at it if you put your mind to it. And I realized that he was right, and that there were other areas of my life that hadn't necessarily, just come naturally and clicked, that I'd worked on and been able to improve upon, and that I really love musical theater writing. So I wanted to get back to that and focus on it through courses.
Nice. So it's been 5 years since it got on its feet, was on stage. What have you done with it? Has it been just kind of percolating? You've been working on it, or has there been another reading or run of it?
We have put some of the videos of it on YouTube recently. So for a while, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. The cast was super enthusiastic. They were talking about, maybe we could take it further. I did try and shop it around to a couple different theaters and work on some rewrites for it, but ultimately there wasn't a huge amount of interest at that time. So that's when I decided to focus on upping my skills. So I did the Canadian Musical Theatre Writers Collective, and then I've been working on a new show with my composer collaborator Stephen Leung, who I met as part of that program.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about it, or is it still hush hush?
It's a little hush hush, but I can tell you a bit about it for sure.
Okay.
We worked on piecing together. So we've been working on it for a number of months, and we worked on piecing together. You know how, I don't know if you've seen, like during this time, there's a number of sort of digital musicals.
Yes.
So we've worked on piecing together something like that, which was a really fun process because we were able to find actors and then have them record the pieces at home, like record their sections of it. And then we were able to stitch that together with a videographer that we worked with. And the result of it was really cool to look at. And what was interesting about it too is, like, when I was doing Quarter Life Crisis, we didn't really work that much with scores per se, where the actors were reading the notes. We mostly worked off recordings. But in this case, with everyone doing their own recording from home and then us stitching them together afterwards, the scores became critical. So that's what the actors worked off of. And we were impressed that when they submitted their work, we didn't really have to do much in the way of editing or getting re-records made. It was mostly in areas where we forgot to write in, this actor needs to record this section and so forth. So it was a really neat process putting together a digital musical, so to speak. And I've been interested to learn about and listen to other digital musicals, like podcast musicals and so on.
Yeah. Is this something that you've created? Is it going to live on the internet, or is it something that can be brought into the physical world as well on stage, do you think?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, so far, I think the plan is to have it live on the internet. Okay. But I think that we might take it forward and have it run in person potentially. There's been some interest from a conference that is in the realm of the topic that we're covering, and they had some interest in presenting it there. I'm not sure whether it would be presenting the video or presenting it live, but I'm not sure yet. For now, we are working on we sort of, completed the draft of that and are moving it towards production. We're making it live through a digital festival. And then we're working on a new project now, which is about love in the time of the pandemic.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a good time to do a show about that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got the musical, you're working on that. Are you doing anything still in the business world? And how do people react in the business world? Because I know when I talk to them, they didn't quite understand what I did, because it's a little bit different. When you talk to them and tell them, I write musicals and that sort of thing, how do they react?
Yeah, I'm definitely still working in the business world. I have a company that teaches camps and classes on technology, and we're now virtual since everything's closed right now during the pandemic. In terms of how people react, I mean, I'm not sure how many people in business at this point sort of know about my musical theater writing. I guess for a while I had on my profile, like on my LinkedIn and everything, like I'd written musical theater fan, and then I changed it to, and then like I realized, oh no, I'm not just a musical theater fan. I sort of claiming the terms of, like when you move from being like I write things to I'm a writer or author. So I changed it to musical theater book writer and lyricist. So now I started to get more conversations about it, where people are mostly intrigued. Like I spoke to a fellow, I was doing a reference check, and it turned out he was interested in potentially becoming an investor, and he referenced stuff from my LinkedIn about my hobbies that I'd listed there, and or my different interests that I have, and he seemed really interested, and it appealed to him because he had a number of different things that he did as well, aside from just his businesses, like meditation and creativity. So I think people in the business world seem interested and enthusiastic to learn about more than just my business side, and I think it adds a human aspect to it.
For sure. I found, when I'm meeting people, you're talking business. And then when you bring up something like that, you see something in their eyes or in their voice, because they're like, oh, there's another one here like me. And they get excited and want to talk to you. And I think it's wonderful because it brings, for lack of a better term, a human aspect to your conversations, because art is pure humanity and humanness. So that's very cool that you're still doing all that stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, I've also found ways to integrate the theater into my work. Actually, very much so in many ways. So we kind of run the business like a theater, where we have a bricks and mortar location, and so as customers or guests, as we say it, enter the space, we have scripts. Our instructors are a cast, much like the way Disney thinks about their staff. We hire people with experience in the theater. We actually look for that. That's part of our what we look for when we're hiring, is part of our job descriptions. And so it turns out that now all my colleagues, or most of them, love musical theater. So you can find us listening to musicals, doing karaoke where we're singing musicals, or sharing musical theater songs around on our instant messaging board. And we've hired many actors as instructors, and we found that they really connect with the kids. And that's been a really cool experience to sort of meld my interests in theater and business to make it a better experience for all our clientele.
Yeah, it's exciting when you can find a job where it melds all of your passions and loves in one thing.
Definitely.
That's great. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me today and introducing me to your musical. I wasn't able to get to the Fringe in 2015, so I didn't get to see it because I was in Ottawa. But congratulations on that and everything you do in the future.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. But before we go, I always do one thing with my guests. I ask 3 questions. Now, there's no right or wrong answer, but there is definitely a wrong answer to one of the questions. All right. Okay. So question number 1. No context, Sondheim or Lloyd Webber?
Sondheim.
Any particular reason?
His rhymes are just incredible. Like if you listen to some of the songs, like triple rhymes, quadruple rhymes. And also I feel a special kinship to Sondheim because Leslie Arden, who I learned from in the Canadian Musical Theatre Writers Collective, was taught by Sondheim. Like she was a student of his. So some of us in the program kind of joke that we're kind of like teaching grandchildren of Sondheim. Because he taught her and then she taught us.
That's funny. Okay, there is no right or wrong answer for that one. That's more of an opinion. And as a book writer and a lyricist, I can understand why you would go towards Sondheim over Lloyd Webber. Totally understandable. All right, question number 2. Is your spreadsheet in alphabetical order or in desire of shows you want to watch?
So my spreadsheet of musicals is ordered by date. I have
Oh,
2 tabs. Tab number 1 is a list of like all the different theater locations I'm aware of. First it was Toronto, but then I spread it across Ontario. I even recently saw a show in Calgary when I was doing a speaking engagement there. And then the second tab is all the shows that are coming up, ordered by date and highlighted based on whether I've purchased them, that sort of thing. Because musicals are definitely important enough to warrant a dedicated spreadsheet.
Yes. What was the last musical you knocked off of that spreadsheet?
I think the last one I saw was Hamilton.
Oh, okay, here in Toronto?
Yeah, here in Toronto, and that was incredible. Obviously, I loved it. Another recent one I saw was that one in Calgary. It was The Louder We Get, which I'd seen in London, and when it was called Prom Queen, I think, by Colleen Dauncey and Akiva Romer-Siegel, some local creators. And then when I was in I absolutely loved it when I saw it in London, and then I was doing a speaking engagement in Calgary, and I found out it was playing then, so I was able to see it again, and it was amazing. I loved what they did with it.
So which show on your list then do you want to see the most, but not sure if you're going to be able to see it just because it's so rare, or it doesn't get put on very much, or it's whatever the reason?
Okay, I think the show I want to see the most right now, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to, is The Strange Loop, which recently won a Pulitzer Prize. Not sure if you've heard of it, or if the audience.
I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard of it. Yes.
It's about a Black queer man writing a musical about a Black queer man writing a musical about a Black queer man. And I've just loved listening to the soundtrack. It played off Broadway in New York, and then was, one of the only 10 musicals have won Pulitzers, and this was the only one that hadn't been to Broadway yet, or didn't have some relationship with Broadway at the moment. Yeah. And it's this amazing, the creator, Michael R. Jackson, calls it like a self-referential musical. And so what I love about it is it defies so many stereotypes. It's diverse voices and diverse casts, and it's new ways of writing, and it has a lot of different aspects to it that I'd been told through some of my training, like, don't do that. Like being sort of self-referential or that sort of thing. Yeah. And the musical actually acknowledges that in the opening number. Like, the opening number is talking about, well, people might see this as navel-gazy or what have you, but then it ends up being completely successful and winning the Pulitzer, and the music is just so catchy. So if anyone hasn't listened to it, I highly recommend seeing it, and I'm hoping that it'll get moved to, or listening to it, and I'm hoping that it'll get moved to Broadway, and that I'll be able to one day go to New York and watch it.
There's one more cast recording I got to add to my list. Yep.
So many, right?
And my credit card hates me so much when I have to add more to my list.
Fair enough.
It's the worst. All right. Well, that is a correct answer as well for answer number 2. All right. And question number 3, and the most important question of them all. Audience members eating food in the theater, yes or no?
No, just no. When you're listening to musicals, the last thing you want to hear is, food crinkling. Like when I was at Hamilton, obviously the seats for Hamilton are very expensive. Yeah. And there was someone behind us like crinkling their wrappers, which made it hard to hear the actual rappers on stage. Yeah. So yeah, I think no food, food at intermission, of course. Yeah. But during the show, it's all about reverence for the music and the sound coming from the stage rather than the sound around you.
And that was the correct answer. So congratulations.
There's no right answer for any of these questions except that one.
Oh, for sure. That one I will. If anybody answers the wrong way, their interview slips into the delete file by accident for some reason.
Well, I'm glad I passed the test, but that is my actual answer.
Well, that was 3 out of 3. Perfect, Jen. Thank you so much for answering all of those questions.
Thank you so much. And I was just realizing if people are watching musicals at home right now, they could always eat food then.
Exactly. But then that's going to encourage them. They're going to think, oh, I can do it at home. Why can't I do it in the theater? This pandemic has ruined so many things.
Oh, but it's also made so many things possible and created so many opportunities too.
I know.
That's what I'm trying to focus on.
It's a double-edged sword, mostly a bad one, but you've got to take whatever you can out of something that's bad and make it positive, right?
Yeah, silver linings.
Cool. Well, be safe, Jen, and break a leg with everything you do in the future. And if you get those shows up and running, let me know, and we will help promote them for you.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
No problem. All right. So that was Jennifer Turliuk here on Be Our Guest on Musical Theater Radio. Tune in next week as we talk to another guest or guests about their life, love, and passion. That is musical theater. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Jovanov, and I will see you when I see you.